Have you ever felt like you are running on an endless treadmill? Day after day, the exact same continuous loop. Waking up, working, sleeping. But what happens when the treadmill suddenly stops? Life is a profound mystery of continuity and discontinuity. The relentless summer heat eventually breaks into a sudden, stormy pause. A fast-paced life is abruptly interrupted by an unexpected event. Even right now, between the breath you just took in and the breath you're about to let out, there is a tiny, silent gap. What if I told you that all your spiritual power, your ultimate peace, and the very presence of the divine is hiding right there, in that tiny gap, in the emptiness? When we rigidly cling to the continuous flow of life, we suffer the moment it breaks. But when we consciously step into the pause, when we become the silent witness to our own existence, we unlock a universal energy so powerful it can literally change our destiny. Are you ready to step out of the illusion of the daily grind and discover the profound secret of the pause? Let's dive deep into the mystery of continuity versus discontinuity.
Today's satsang is titled The Mystery of Continuity and Discontinuity in Our Life. This explores how things that move continuously and things that come to a state of rest bring growth into our lives. You must have experienced that nothing in life goes on continuously. After some time, a continuous phase stops, and a new situation arises. There are also certain states that keep changing every moment. There is no continuity in them. Then, there are situations that happen suddenly. For example, an accident occurs in your life, or an earthquake strikes. Broadly, all the situations we experience can be divided into three categories. The first category is natural situations, like the changing weather. The summer season continues for some time, then there is a short transition, and winter arrives. Similarly, after a brief pause, the rainy season or spring will come. This is the natural cycle. The second category consists of sudden, unexpected events, like abruptly falling sick, facing an accident, or experiencing an earthquake. The third category includes continuous processes that run on their own, like our breathing. We inhale, we exhale, and there is a small, natural pause in between. If we look deeply, we can use all three of these situations to develop and grow in life. However, this is possible only when you are fully aware. This awareness, this inner strength, comes from our true self. You have no control over what happens in nature. Whether the weather is hot or cold, you cannot change it. But you can do one thing, and we should do it, which is to remain established as a witness within ourselves. This means cultivating an awareness where we deeply feel our own consciousness. Even with just this simple feeling of being conscious, you will experience a state of inner emptiness. In that emptiness, through that simple awareness, you are united with the Supreme virtually. Unfortunately, we rarely experience our own inner self. We wake up in the morning, have breakfast, and go to work. We work the whole day. In the evening, we return, talk a little with our family, eat our food, and go to sleep. We never take the time to experience our inner being. If you experience even a glimpse of who you truly are, you will easily realize that you are pure consciousness. To hold this awareness is to be with the Supreme. Once this awareness arises, external situations will no longer affect you the way they do when that awareness is absent. Try this in your daily life, and you will feel the difference. Understand it this way. Suppose it is very hot outside. Simply hold the awareness. I am conscious, and this heat is not permanent. It is not going to stay forever. In a few weeks or a month, it will pass. Even with just this much awareness, a sense of emptiness and space is created within you. When this emptiness arises, the power of the Supreme flows into you. The unbroken continuity of your identification with the heat receives a pause. Even if it is just for 2 or 5 minutes, a pause has been created. As soon as this pause happens, divine power begins to spread within you. You will no longer remain completely entangled with the continuous heat. For some time, you will feel detached from it. If you practice this even for 5 or 10 minutes, then when the season eventually changes, the transition will have less of an adverse effect on you. Because you used your awareness to distance yourself from the heat, you remained in a state of emptiness. And when you rest in emptiness, a deep strength enters your body and mind. You must have noticed that whenever the weather changes, many people fall sick. During the summer, they become so completely identified with the heat that they forget about the winter. When winter finally arrives, they are unable to adapt, and they fall ill. Let us understand this through another example. Suppose a particular political party is in power in our nation. An election takes place, and that party loses. A new party comes into power. The people who were fiercely loyal to the first party often face great mental distress. Because their party lost, and they cannot bear to support the other, they suffer. Why? Because they did not remain in a state of emptiness. They were rigidly aligned with only one side and lacked the flexibility of detachment. Therefore, whenever external situations change, such rigid attachment brings pain. If you cultivate emptiness within yourself, you can live in the world and interact with anyone, while inwardly knowing that everything changes with time. You will not become blindly attached to anything. You will align yourself only with truth and justice. Whenever you feel something is wrong, you will easily step away, because your inner emptiness gives you clarity and direction. The essence is this: if you introduce a little discontinuity, a pause, into the continuous flow of life, your troubles will diminish. Even while engaged in activity, if you can experience a brief moment of emptiness, divine power will flow into you. Then, whenever situations change, that divine power will sustain you, and you will not suffer deeply. When your suffering decreases, your spiritual growth accelerates. Consider this from another perspective. A child is naturally innocent. He falls down many times, yet he rarely gets severely hurt, and he immediately bounces back up. This is because a child remains in a state of natural flexibility and emptiness. He is not rigidly attached to anything. Similarly, you must have seen that if a drunk person falls, he usually doesn't sustain major injuries, whereas a sober person falling in the exact same way might get badly hurt. Why? Because the drunk person, like the child, is in a state of emptiness, though it is an emptiness born of unconsciousness or ignorance. Yet, the physical effect is the same. They adapt instantly. They are in a state of discontinuity. Therefore, if you consciously remain in emptiness, if you remain connected to the Lord, you will suffer much less. By remaining in emptiness, I mean remaining flexible, not rigid. Think of yourself like a liquid or a gas. Because liquids and gases are fluid, they can flow through and around obstacles without experiencing pain. Approach the uncontrollable situations of life in a way that they simply do not disturb you. To do this, remain aware within and experience that inner emptiness. In simple words, feel the presence of the witness within you. If you stay anchored in this awareness, external situations will have very little impact on you. Look at a simple daily activity like walking. As you walk, one foot moves forward while the other remains behind. The foot that is behind relaxes, it rests on the ground. The longer it rests on the ground, the more strength it gathers. Then, the back foot moves forward, and the front foot becomes the resting back foot. If you walk with full awareness, consciously placing your feet on the ground, you will feel much less tired. You will be able to walk longer distances. The more connected you are to the earth, resting in that momentary emptiness, the more strength you absorb. Take another example. You are sitting somewhere, and eventually, you feel tired. The moment you shift your posture, you feel relaxed. You had been sitting in a state of continuity. Changing your position means you broke that continuity and entered a moment of emptiness. From that emptiness, you adopted a new posture, which brought you physical relief. So, whenever you introduce a moment of discontinuity, a deliberate pause, into a continuous state, you will experience peace. Consider eating. You put a bite of food into your mouth and chew it. Before you take the next bite, if you pause for just a few seconds, if you step away from the continuous act of eating, you will feel a greater sense of joy when you finally take the next bite. If you just eat continuously without awareness, you miss the true joy of the food. Unless you are relaxed and present in an activity, you cannot extract real happiness from it. Similarly, when you speak, if you take a deliberate pause after a few sentences, you will feel less exhausted. During that pause, you return to your center, and clear thoughts naturally arise about what to say next. Speaking constantly without awareness is meaningless. By speaking slowly and pausing, you stay connected to yourself. You stop. And in that stopping, energy is generated. The same principle applies to breathing. The breath enters your body, stays for a moment, and then goes out. For a split second, the breath is neither inside nor outside, it has completely left. For that brief moment, you are without breath. In that very space of breathlessness, divine energy enters, bringing profound relaxation. This is why it is said that if you consciously watch your breath, your breathing rate naturally slows down. If you were breathing 10 times a minute, you might start breathing 6 times a minute. The time saved from those 4 breaths becomes moments of sheer emptiness. When you rest in that breathlessness, the power of the universe enters you. Whether eating, walking, changing postures, or breathing, whenever you enter a state of emptiness, even for a microsecond, the power of the Lord, the energy of the universe, flows into that space. As I mentioned earlier regarding the changing seasons, if you remain inwardly aware and receptive to this universal power, you naturally dwell in emptiness. Then, in summer, the heat won't overwhelm you, and in winter, the cold won't freeze you. You will remain healthy. This is a deep subject, but understand it simply. In every situation, if you remain anchored in your inner witness, universal power will flow into you, keeping you completely balanced. To make this clearer, I would like to share a short story. A man ran a very successful medical store. His father, having retired, had handed the shop over to him. The father would often advise his son, "Take a few moments out of your day to chant the name of the Lord. At least fold your hands in gratitude before Him." But the son never listened. He was entirely absorbed in his continuous routine, working and going home. He was highly skilled. He knew exactly where every medicine was kept and could find anything even in the pitch dark. His father kept trying to explain that the support of the Lord is essential in everything we do, as it is the only way to receive universal energy. But the young man paid no attention. Time passed, the father eventually passed away, and the son's routine remained exactly the same. He would open the shop and do his work. If friends dropped by, he would play cards or socialize right there in the shop, treating it almost like a club. He managed his business effortlessly because of his deep familiarity with the store. However, he never changed his routine. He never broke his continuity. He never entered into emptiness or connected with the universe. So, the divine orchestrated a profound situation to teach him a lesson. One day, a few of his friends were visiting. It was raining heavily outside, so they decided to sit in the shop and play cards. While they were playing, the electricity suddenly went out, plunging the shop into darkness. The game stopped, and the rain outside grew even heavier. Amidst the downpour, a small boy, about 10 or 11 years old, entered the shop holding some money. "I need this medicine," he said. The shopkeeper took the money. Confident in his memory, he reached into the dark shelves, grabbed the medicine, and handed it to the boy. Eventually, the rain stopped, the electricity returned, and his friends left. When the lights came back on, he glanced at the shelf where he had grabbed the medicine. To his absolute horror, he realized that right next to the medicine he was supposed to give the boy, there was a bottle of rat poison. In the pitch dark, he had accidentally given the poison to the child. The boy was long gone. The shopkeeper was paralyzed with panic. The boy's mother was sick. If she took the poison, she would surely die. He was entirely helpless. He didn't even know where the boy lived. In a dusty corner of the shop, his father had left a small idol of Lord Krishna. Having lost all worldly support, he rushed to the idol. Trembling, he thought, "If that woman dies and they trace the poison back to my shop, my entire life will be ruined." With this agonizing thought, tears streamed down his face. He folded his hands before the Lord with a desperation he had never felt before. He wept uncontrollably. In that profound state of helplessness, the memory of his father's gentle advice flooded his mind. But what could he do now? Yet, in that intense surrender, he suddenly slipped from a state of time and fear into a timeless, empty space. A little while later, the boy returned to the shop, crying. The shopkeeper's heart pounded with terror. But the boy sobbed, "My foot slipped in the mud, and the bottle of medicine broke. Now I don't have any money to buy it again." The shopkeeper rushed forward and hugged the boy tightly. Overwhelmed with relief, he handed him the correct medicine and said, "Go home, wash the place where the bottle broke, and don't even look at it. Take this to your mother. You don't need to pay." For his entire life, this man had walked only one rigid, continuous path. The Lord had to create a dramatic play to shake him out of his routine and bring him toward the truth. From that day on, his life was forever transformed. The divine often creates such situations to guide a person back to the right path. But if you willingly choose to walk the path of truth, if you consciously enter into emptiness yourself, rather than being forced into it through a crisis, imagine how much spiritual growth you can achieve. If you refuse to pause, the universe will eventually find a way to make you pause. And if a transformation is not in your destiny, everything you have built and hoarded could vanish in a single moment. Why was the shopkeeper so terrified? Because he knew that if the boy's mother died, his wealth, his reputation, and his life as he knew it would be completely destroyed. Let us not wait for a crisis to strike before we wake up. Let us choose the right path ourselves. Let us cultivate inner emptiness and remain connected to the Supreme. Whether we are eating, sleeping, working, or doing spiritual practices, let us maintain awareness of our breath. In any situation, no matter how harsh the external weather may be, if we rest in our own inner emptiness, no suffering will truly touch us. In other words, if we remain established as the inner witness, the Lord will protect us and stay with us wherever we go. Illness, weather, and difficult situations will lose their power over us. If we abide with the Lord in every moment, the space of emptiness will naturally expand in our lives, eventually leading us into the profound state of Samadhi or state of ecstasy, where we unite entirely with the Supreme. Everything happening in the world, every single situation, is actually designed to lead us back to the Lord. But because we live in a state of spiritual sleep, we fail to realize it. When the weather is scorching hot, it is a reminder to take refuge in the Lord. When it is freezing cold, it is a reminder to seek warmth in the Divine. Even if the earth shakes, remain with the Lord. Do this, and you will not suffer anywhere. In every action you perform, carry the feeling that you are doing it in His presence. Only then can you become one with Him. Sustain this feeling, and you will merge with Him. He is infinitely compassionate, constantly looking for ways to guide you to the right path. If you turn to Him willingly, He won't need to send difficulties your way. Your time will be saved, you will effortlessly merge with the Supreme, and become one with Him. Thank you.